Hello, welcome to Boxes of Comics. This is episode 7. Today, we are going a bit of a different route as we are out of town. But that does not mean that we stop filming for our 24 subscribers. No, that means we keep going even though we're on vacation. Today, we will be reviewing 3 books. And those books are Web of Spider-Man 69, Batman, The Killing Joke, and X-Men Volume 2, Issue number 5. So let's dig in. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that intro. So let's get into some comics. Our first one is Web of Spider-Man number 69. So you know it's going to be a fun read. So, you might be asking yourself some questions. That's okay, because I'm here to give you answers to those questions. Now, it was published in October of 1990. So if you're a 90s kid, you probably collected this. The cover artist, Alex Sovak, and he actually did a couple other issues of Spider-Man, not just Web, but I also believe, according to my research, he worked on Amazing Spider-Man. The writer, Jerry Cornway, he helped create and script the death of Gwen Stacy, which you know is a very important and detailed part of Spider-Man's backstory, as Green Goblin killed Gwen Stacy, got thrown off a bridge, snapped her neck, oh no, she's dead, and then Peter finds Mary Jane Watson, and all's good now. So, that's all I have for this book, so let's move on. Okay. That was our first review. Now on to the second, which is an original printing of Batman, The Killing Joke. This book was published in 1988 of March. It was written by Alan Moore, illustrated by Brian Bolland, and you might have heard of the recent animated movie. It was an adaptation of this book. And they're also coming out, I believe, next year with Batman Under the Red Hood and Batman The Killing Joke, where you could actually choose what happens during the movie, which is pretty cool. So this book was a classic when it came out, very popular, as you know. What happens is it gives a backstory of the Joker, and it explains how he became Joker. It also explains, how Batman feels like this could be the last time that he goes after Joker. And spoiler alert, but towards the end, it shows Batman and it shows Joker laughing together because Joker had told him a joke. And it is presumed that Batman kills Joker, but it doesn't really tell you if he does or not. So this book is a good thriller. It does keep the attention of the readers, and a very good Batman story. Okay, you might notice that one of the names on here is Alan Moore. That is the author. He wrote the book. Now, Alan Moore is also famous for other superheroes and supervillains, such as Swamp Thing and Watchmen. And as you know, those have been pretty popular, as Swamp Thing got a TV show, and Watchmen got a TV show, but also a movie. So that's pretty cool to see how his artwork and his ideas have gone from paper trade backs and comic books to now in the movies.
Good. What is this one?
X-Men.
X-Men. Take 1. 3, 2, one.
Okay, our third and final book of this video is X-Men Volume 2, number 5. So, you might be wondering, why this book? Well, let me tell you. I chose this book and Web of Spider-Man because those are the issues that I'm collecting and I'd like to get a full run of, and so this helps build my collection. But I chose Killing Joke because of how good of a story it was and just the impact it had on comics. So let's get into some information about this book. This book is X-Men Volume 2, so it's like a reboot, and this is the 5th issue in the reboot. It was published February of '92, and the cover artist is Jim Lee and Mr. Williams. The writer is John Bryan and Jim Lee. Jim Lee you might know from other comics, but such as Batman. But right now he is currently the Chief Creative Officer at DC, and he helps publish the comics. And he helps run the company for DC, and he goes through and he just goes through all the ideas that are given, and he helps transition those into the comic books. Scott Williams, a little fun fact about him, his first publication was Batman Black and White from June of 1996, number 1. So that's pretty cool how these artists and these writers, they could go back and forth between Marvel and DC and do different characters that they want, and they could also move up in the ranks, such as Jim Lee, how he's now the Chief Creative Officer and not just a writer or artist. So that's pretty cool how you have some different, let's say, legway and some different movements around, so that way you don't always have to stay put in the one place. You can move up and down and do whatever you want when doing these when working for these specific companies. So I'm going to give all 3 of these a read, and I'll get back to you with my review and my personal thoughts later. Hello, and we're back. In case you didn't know, I just reviewed the comics. That's right, in just that mere span of time, that like 30 seconds, I just reviewed them. So, let's talk about it. The first book I'm going to tell you about, Web of Spider-Man 69. A very fun read. So, you might be thinking, okay, so I've heard you talk about this, so what's it about? Well, I'm going to tell you. So what happens is, Peter Parker is working at the Daily Bugle. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. J. Jonah Jameson is Peter Parker's boss. He sends Peter Parker and Betty Brant, who is the secretary, onto a mission because there has been a sighting of a big monster. And that big monster turns out to be the Incredible Hulk. So, what happens is Peter Parker and Betty Brant have to go and drive to Connecticut, and they run into the Hulk. So what happens is Peter Parker runs off, he becomes Spider-Man, and he tracks down the Hulk. Now the Hulk goes into the U.S. military, the army, and he takes back his wife, and then he goes and he jumps far away into a log cabin where they hide, and then the Hulk turns into Bruce Banner. So then, while Bruce Banner's resting because he's been the Hulk, there's an antagonist, and what the antagonist does is he creates a machine that can track gamma radiation. So what happens is he goes and he tracks the gamma radiation to Bruce Banner, and he tries to take away Bruce Banner's powers. But before he can, Spider-Man finds out where the Hulk went, and he stops the whole thing from happening, but Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk and fights Spider-Man. So, that's the overcap of the story. So some things that I liked were that it was a good story and a good crossover event between the Hulk and Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man. It's amazing. So it was a good crossover story. I felt that it did a good job of a continuation between 68 and 70. It was a good fit. It kind of fell off towards the end, but that's okay. And towards the end, there was a cliffhanger where Spider-Man's back itches. And it's like, oh no, what Spider-Man got? My guess? Cancer. What's your guess? let me know. Okay, so next up on our review list is Batman the Killing Joke, which I also read. So, you might be wondering, well, I've heard about this book. Let me tell you about this book if you've heard about it. So, what happens is this book starts out with Batman going to Arkham Asylum because he wants to talk to Joker about their relationship. What happens is that Joker's gone missing. Batman gets furious because he doesn't know where Joker is, and he needs to talk to Joker because he's afraid that one is going to kill the other. Whether it's Batman killing Joker or Joker killing Batman. So, what happens is Batman goes on a whole search in his Batcave and across Gotham City to find the Joker. Meanwhile, the Joker goes to Commissioner Gordon's house, and while Commissioner Gordon is talking to his daughter Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, aka Oracle, the Joker comes and knocks on the door and paralyzes Barbara Gordon and knocks out Commissioner Gordon and kidnaps Commissioner Gordon and takes him to an abandoned carnival. And then Batman finds out what had happened to the Gordons, and he goes and visits Barbara. And Barbara tells Batman what happened, and so Batman goes after Joker. And while Batman is on his way to get Joker, Joker goes and torments and just rampages on Commissioner Gordon and wants to prove the point that one bad day can really just throw off somebody's life. So that's really interesting to see. And at the end, when Batman eventually does save Commissioner Gordon, he goes after Batman, but Commissioner Gordon's like, no, you have to bring him in by the book. But the story ends with Batman and Joker both laughing after Joker tells a funny story, a funny joke, and it's unclear if Batman kills Joker or if he brings him in by the book. So that's really good. Some positives, what I like, it's a good dark story, it's really a mature audience, and I feel like it just had that overall tone of Batman, the dark and the gritty. Some things that I didn't like is that, I really liked the book, but compared to the movie, I actually felt like the movie did a better job going into detail, even though that the book did have some different scenes and did some different elements. I really felt like the movie did better explaining those elements and really going into even more depth than the comic book. So that's what I have for this book. Really fun read. I suggest you check it out. Okay, our third and final book that I have reviewed for you is X-Men Volume 2, Issue number 5. Now, during this issue, it starts off with Omega Red being created by a terrorist organization called The Hand. Now, Omega Red wants revenge on Wolverine, or Logan, because in a past life, but earlier in Logan's career, they fought, and Omega Red thinks that Logan can help turn the tide on this mutant human war or discrimination, because the humans don't like the mutants. So what happens is that Omega Red goes after Logan, and then they go and they fight, but then the issue then cuts to Professor X at the School of Gifted Students, where there's Gambit and there's Rogue, and they're going on a date, and they're going to be joined by people such as Beast and Cyclops. And what happens is that the Hand is able to go and attack the X-Men in secret, and they go and blow up the X-Men's van while they're traveling to go find Logan, because Logan is missing, and they don't know where it's at. And while the van explodes, it looks just like an ordinary car crash when an ambulance arrives, so that way no pedestrians or anybody that watched the car crash suspects anything. So what ends up happening is Cyclops actually finds Logan's costume, but they're unsure whether this is there to throw the X-Men off or if they're actually on the right track on finding Logan. So it's a very good story. It's got a lot of mystery, a lot of suspense, and good detail on Logan's relationship with Omega Red. Some things that I liked about the issue is it was a continuation from issue 4, and I could really see this taking a big arc throughout the whole series. I didn't really dislike anything from this particular book. I felt like it was probably an 8 out of 10 read. It was very detailed, very descriptive, really set the mood for future issues that were to come at the time. So I really liked this. That's all the time we have for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something by watching our video on these 3 comics. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Plus, if you hit that little thumbs up and it turns blue, you might get some superpowers.